Hi, it is I, John underscore Silva underscore, with another question from Final, asking, John, how do artists use so many desaturated colors in their paintings while making the finished picture look actually pretty colorful? Basically, how can we balance saturation and desaturation in an image to achieve a realistic and pleasant look like this artwork by the great Clint Searly. I'm sorry. Anyways, how do we balance? The short answer is you use like 80% pretty desaturated colors, and your focal points you saturate it just a little bit more. Thank you for watching. See you on the next one. Just kidding. I mean, that's pretty much the answer, but of course I will demo it. Let's make a new layer. All right. Hey Scully, what's up? Hi. Just get good. All right. So I'll give you first a simple example, and then I'll paint. I'll paint like an area. I guess the portrait. I'll do a little portrait, to give you guys some time to think of questions while I do it. So the simple thing is, if you have like a desaturated blue, let's say you have a swatch of desaturated blue, and then you also have sort of like then you have a desaturated green. We can make it darker too. Actually, that's really, there you go. You have the saturated green. The moment you add something just a little bit more saturated in between the two, right? I'm not even going like full, this is like sort of halfway. It automatically grabs the eye. Of course, there's also contrast. So for example, if I make these contrast is another another big deal with the colors. It pairs very, very well with saturation. So you always want to keep in mind those two things. All right. So I'm actually gonna take this green and make it sort of, wait, where is this? I'm gonna neutralize it because its darker color is overwhelming the yellow. So we have the yellow here, and the yellow, even though I just saturated it a little bit, you know, the more I keep saturating it and giving it maybe a warmer color too, it automatically like really, really pops. But here I'm using quite a lot of saturation, right? So this is the basic idea of that. Now we take this idea, right? If you have mostly desaturated colors, the moment you add a little bit of saturation, it automatically pops, and we see that in the portrait. So I'm gonna take blah 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 this area here. I'm gonna zoom it in. There you go. Make a new layer, and all right. So let's get to it. We'll do a little. I'll do a little thingy. Just a quick little study. Let's put it that way, of the portrait. So we have the background. The background is actually like, seems to be darker and more purple than that. There you go. And there's a really big contrast on the face of both color, saturation, and brightness to it. All right, so we have this. I'll just make a new layer. And now the skin, midtones. So you want to find the midtones first whenever you look at an image. So I'm looking at the area between the blue and the warm, like salmon colors here that almost appear orange-ish, but it's not really. It's more like it's kind of pale. So I'm looking at the in-between. And just by doing, actually, this is even a little much. There you go. So even just giving it a bit more saturation than the blue, you can already see how much it already contrasts against it. Again, it's color plus saturation. No, it's color saturation plus brightness contrast. Those two, you always want to think about them together. I'm actually gonna use this one. So let's do the head here quickly. Isn't the orange subsurface scattering? Yeah. How to properly paint over grayscale. You need to add a link to that, Wardux. Alright, so we have this. I'll add a little bit of the hair is actually pretty desaturated. I'll just add a little bit of the shape here and contrast. Actually, it probably needs to be a lot more blue. This is where I really enjoy using the lab sliders. I don't know if you guys can tell. There you go. The pairing of first of all, I would recommend this quite a bit. This is this called an app? The software? I don't know. A plugin. It's a plugin for Photoshop. I would recommend that plugin. Colores is very good, and you can have the lab sliders turned on. And what I do is I pick a mid-tone color, and then I can adjust it to make it like cooler or warmer depending on the sliders. I can adjust everything I want. We have decodes for that. I'm not going to explain it here on this video. So if you want to, just, I think it's on, I don't know if it's season 1 or season 2 actually. I think it's season 2. I explain the lab sliders and how they work. But I pair these two things where I manually pick a mid-tone, and I'm gonna do the eyes. Actually, no. I'm gonna ignore the details. I'm just gonna add light to this image. So we have a mid-tone, right? I'm gonna lock transparency here in a second. All right, this is good enough. And now I'll make a new layer just in case. All right. So now what you can do is start with the light, and you can saturate it a little bit. Actually, you can saturate it quite a bit. It may not look like that, but it's quite saturated. The closer to pure white and pure black you go, the more like heavy on saturation you got to go to actually add some color to the pure white or pure black. So in this case, I'm like full on saturation in this value. So there's less room for really bright or really dark colors for saturation. Less room for saturation on that. So I'm just gonna follow here the shape, blah blah blah, blue. There you go. I'm also finding my base color to be a bit too needs to be a bit more. There you go. That's better. Hey Bazooka, hi. How are you doing? So this is just a direct sunlight color that I'm keeping in mind, and then we're gonna do I'll do the bounce light and the subsurface scattering afterwards. In this case, so this is the only areas on the head that have direct sunlight. Maybe the ear is just a little bit here, but honestly it's so small that yeah. So one more layer. Now we go a bit more. It's not even orange. I guess the saturated orange can read kind of like a salmon color. and I'm gonna add it from this point on. This is subsurface. Actually, I should use a softer brush for this. I think he adds texture later on, so I'm gonna go with the softer brush first. So here, under the neck, actually, wait, there's even better. There you go. This one is much better. Now the ears have a pink tone. At least Clint decided to have it that way. So a purplish mixed in with, there you go. A quiet, this is, look, I'm not even going full saturation, and look how hot the color looks. So fucking hot. So fucking hot. Just kidding. All right. So we do a little gradient there. And then we'll get to the blue of the face in a moment here. The nose, the little nose, yes, and obviously the eyes. And everything has a fall off to a warmer, more saturated orange. Like the further away the glow, the further away the subsurface scattering. The same is true for every light, but the subsurface scattering, the further it goes away from the light source, the warmer it becomes. So we add a little bit of that here, like so, and the corner of the eyebrows too, and the tip of the nose. But the bottom of the nose could be a little brighter. Like this is pretty okay. I'm just gonna do the rest of the ear here. Oh, I missed a spot. There's a hot, there you go. There's a really warm, just like the tips of the ears, there's a really warm color there. I'm gonna make it a bit brighter. Actually, yeah, there you go. A bit more orange in between. It's like it's a salmon color. It's just salmon color. There you go. And let's call it here. Let's call it here good for these two. Right, just focusing on these areas here. And now let's add the blue color. And again, I think for the blue color, we won't really need much saturation. Yeah, this is actually already too much. So what you want, I'm just gonna do a selection here. I said I'm just gonna do a selection here. There you go. Now, because of the colors surrounded, and it's the color saturation and contrast of colors. So we have warm. The moment that we have mostly warm colors here on the portrait, the moment we add a cool color, even if it's like not even halfway saturation, it already reads pretty saturated. So we want to keep very gray. There you go. So that's also the gradient goes from blue to a dark purplish color, but we'll first do the brightest points. Lately I've been more into starting the brightest points, so you want to keep it very desaturated, and that's because I'm pretty much just repeating now, due to the fact that we already have a lot of warm colors and they were already beginning to be more saturated, so you want to keep it mostly gray. Honestly, I could even go with just 100% gray and it'll still read like cold, just not as cold. You can see, like, you can trick your eyes to make it look like it's blue, but no, not really. All right, so let's do that. Add in a couple places here. Some of these areas it's not actually this blue, it's a bit more towards purple, but we'll do that in just a second. The hair gets very little of it too. Like so. I'm pretty good, Bazooka. Thanks for asking. I'll talk to you guys in a second once this video is over. All right. I'm not gonna do the face marks and all that. It doesn't really matter to this. Now, the purples. Now that we have the lighter parts, I actually would make it a little bit brighter. I'm just using a thingy, hue saturation. Oh, actually, this is the wrong layer. This is the right layer. Just a little bit. There you go. And all right. So I'm gonna make a new layer, and I'm gonna take this color. I'm gonna darken it and make it a little bit more like purple. So I'm gonna add a little bit of pink, add a little bit of brown to this color, and I get pretty close, but maybe just a little more dark. I get pretty close to that color, or what it seems to be. I actually don't know if it's exactly that color or not. We can maybe laugh at me. I'll color pick and see how close I got to the colors. But what matters is mostly the illusion of the color anyways. That's like the most important. Let's go here. And actually, I'm gonna go with the soft brush because I don't know why I'm making my life harder trying to blend this. All right, a little bit of this. Oh, definitely the tips of the ears darker, and then I actually forgot to do this in the previous step. So darker. The tips of the ears tend to catch more the background light, so I'm gonna add the more saturated color to the saturated blue to the tips, but everything else is gonna go back to maybe just a bit more saturation here and there, and we're good to go. I'm just gonna blend also this blue. her not having eyes and all that is making this kind of weird as well. Should have given her eyes, but then the video would be way longer. All right, so I'm actually gonna merge. I have all of the layers separated. I'm gonna merge everything into one, adjust a couple of areas here in the eyes. Like I forgot these little thingies. It doesn't really matter, but it's always nice to add those. And what else? I'll just blend here a little bit the cheekbones into the nose, so we have a nice mix. There you go. And I guess the very last thing I could do is add the clouds. They can make quite a bit of a difference, which is a very desaturated brown, I'm guessing. Yep, I guessed correctly. So you can just add whatever shapes you want with literally however you want. And just, there you go. I'm painting the shape, and then I can add in the value information however you want. Yeah, that's pretty much it as far as like the whole saturation thing goes. Keep everything sort of like the same saturation, like either halfway on your color wheel or less. Anything that you want in focal point, you go beyond halfway on your color wheel in terms of saturation. And yeah, the less something is in focus, the more desaturated it can appear to be. Sometimes something can look very desaturated against each color, right? But don't get mistaken between saturation and temperature. Those are two different things. Just because something looks kind of like bluer doesn't make it that it's less saturated, just because most of the environment is like an orange, right? If most of the environment was orange and you see a little bit of blue here and there, you might think that area is saturated, but no, it's just like the contrast of the two colors will make it appear to be desaturated. now for a little game, we can see how wrong we were. I'm guessing the blue here, I got definitely wrong. I think it's more, it's more towards purple. I'm guessing here on the forehead, but let's see. Let's do a little swatch. I'm actually wondering. Let's take these swatches here. So this is mine. And this... Oh! Oh my god! This is his. It's really... Can you tell the difference? It's like... Dude! Wait, I mean, of course I knew that. It's not luck or anything like that. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Many years of practice. I'm not gonna color pick the other ones because I want to look good. Thank you for watching this video. I'll see you on the next one. Once again, chat, if you like this kind of videos, Silva Decodes, subscribing to me supports the stream a lot, and you can ask questions ahead of time if you're a sub, amongst many other perks. See you on the next video. Goodbye.